And that's it. Golden Sun. Completed. And a fantastic game Golden Sun is. I guess we could just keep this over here. Alright, so Golden Sun. This game has been fantastic. And I mentioned several times that this game kind of ends abruptly. And, you know, I was kind of wrong about that. This game doesn't really end that abruptly. They kind of try to tie it off right there. But it still kind of ends before you think it would. Because, you know, the goal here is to rescue Jenna and stop Saturos and Minardi from lighting all 4 lighthouses. We only get to visit 2 lighthouses this entire game. The water one and the earth one. And we stop Saturos and Minardi at the earth one. So it's kind of crazy that this game, in a sense, only goes halfway into the story. And that's kind of abrupt, you know? I mean, they only explore half of it. You know, we still don't know what Alex is up to or anything like that. We don't know why Felix wants to light the lighthouse. There's still a lot of story to be told. So that's that. But let's get into some of my thoughts about this game. How was the story? I think the story is pretty decent. It's not revolutionary or anything like that. It's actually pretty straightforward. You know, I mean, I kind of summarized it already, but we're out here to stop these lighthouses from being lit, and we're doing a very poor job of it. But you know, that's our goal. We gotta save Jenna too. We gotta save Kraden, and we gotta save Sheba. And well, Sheba's dead, but once upon a time, our goal was to save Sheba, and we gotta save Bobby as well. So we're struggling right now, but you know, in the next game, maybe we'll get to do that. Was it satisfying? Story. I guess you could say the story wasn't very satisfying because it doesn't actually come to a completion. We only beat our enemy, but we create, in a sense, a new enemy or a new rival, perhaps. So, you know, I should turn that down. New rival or something like that. Does it feel complete? No. How was the pacing? The pacing was pretty good. I ran into some issues a couple of times. It was rough for me. But the dungeons, the only dungeon in this game that's actually pretty long is the Venus Lighthouse, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. Every other dungeon has been pretty short, and that's super nice. Super nice. That's fine. Sure, we'll create a new save file there. We got all the Jinn. Never accomplished that before. Very happy about that. Oh, post credit scene in a Game Boy Advance game? What is this? I forgot about this scene, actually. He leapt off the lighthouse and died. Like a fool. Kraden's got a mouth. I mean, Isaac and his friends. They're your friends too, aren't they? Well, I guess Garrett is. alive? Inconceivable. How do they end up on the same island? Come on. Come on. And fade to black to be continued. Game disrespecting us like that. But I see you, Golden Sun. You're still a wonderful game. I appreciate it. Appreciate it a lot. Alright. So, well, I actually can't select the clear data. That's interesting. Okay. Did I like it? Absolutely. This game is freaking awesome. And I have very little substantial complaints about this game. I think it does a lot of... I think it has a lot of strengths. And that really carries the game for me. Some gameplay elements that stand out. At the beginning of the game, you can choose to neglect saving the world. And the game just straight up tells you, well, you didn't save the world and the world falls into chaos and everybody dies. But I mentioned this before, that's just a really cool thing that you can do. And a lot of games don't do that. I mean, it's kind of a waste of time, but at the same time, it's kind of unique, and it's interesting that in a scenario where you need to save the world, they take into account those that don't want to. And you know, obviously you're gonna select save the world because you want to play the game, but it's just a nice little, I guess, Easter egg, if you would, because a lot of games will just, they either won't give you the option or they won't let you choose the option to not save the world. So that was nice. Using puzzle solving synergy out of combat isn't free. This one's kind of a negative one that stands out for me. It doesn't make a significant impact ever, and so it's not huge. It's not under like the dislikes for me or anything like that. But it's a curious decision, and I really wonder why they went with it. Because yeah, you could just walk around and get your synergy back, which is the next point that I actually have of a mechanic that stands out. But it's weird that they went with that as a whole. I guess it's different. I mean, there's not very many games out there where you can walk around to get your magic points, your MP, your mana back, basically. So there's that. And then no enemies in puzzle rooms. I added that one kind of recently. That's just really nice. I'm not familiar with very many games that do or don't do that, but it's certainly just something that's nice, and I hope all games do that with their puzzle rooms. I mean, Ni no Kuni 2 didn't have any enemies in the puzzle room, so it's probably a common occurrence. Especially with random encounters, you do not want that frustration in a puzzle room when you're trying to think. In regards to the combat, guard after attacking an enemy not present. Oh, this one. I don't like this one. So when you're in combat, and let's say the turn order is Isaac, Garrett, Ivan. Okay. Isaac and Garrett attack an enemy. Garrett kills it. Ivan goes to it. It has an attack queued up for that enemy, but the enemy's already dead. So instead of Ivan switching to the next enemy and attacking it, he will guard instead. And that's just annoying. There's a lot of games out there where they say, okay, you attacked. We're gonna... Your target is dead. We'll move you on to the next one. This game doesn't do that, and it's kind of weird, to be honest. There must be some game design choice there, because that seems like a cognizant decision that you would make, and I'd really like to know why that's a thing. It's not a big deal, especially in boss fights, because there's usually only one enemy in a boss fight. but it's an incredibly curious decision. There really weren't any annoying dungeons. None of them had any crazy amount of backtracking, as I mentioned. They're all fairly short, which is great. Onto the miscellaneous area. The music, I've mentioned this so many times. This game has S tier music, top tier music. It is fantastic. I love it. The graphics, I think the pixel art is actually pretty nice in this game. And I mentioned before, the battle visuals are also really cool. And I'd even argue that they're kind of unique. So I dig that a lot. Some of my favorite things, I really like Saturos and Minardi. They don't get a whole lot of screen time, but I like their personalities. I like their dialogue. I'm a villain guy. I like villains a lot. I don't know if I relate to them or something like that, but growing up, you know, everybody always likes the heroes, and for some reason I just attach to the villains. They look the coolest, they do the coolest things, they say the coolest things, they have the coolest gadgets. I mean, what more you gotta say? Garrett was also a cool character. I enjoy his witty banter, his unintelligent, I don't know. He says some stupid stuff there. Colosso is really cool. Colosso is something different that this game offers, and I really enjoy that they give you that opportunity. It's kind of challenging, but you can use Jin, you can use Psi Energy, so it's really not that big of a deal. On to the things that I disliked. The boat to Tolby. That was basically like 4 or 5 waves of enemies where you go through the same sequence of events that have the same dialogue, the same, I guess, triggers. There really wasn't a lot going on there that justified how many times you had to go through it, and I wasn't a fan. Silent protagonist. I kind of touched on this a little bit, but I don't really like the silent protagonist. I like my characters speaking up for themselves. I don't really get the whole you feel more attached to your silent protagonist or whatever. That it doesn't really resonate with me, so not a fan of that. And the puzzles are underwhelming. Now, for the majority of the game, this is kind of the case. The colored statue puzzle was actually really nice in the final lighthouse, basically, and I really appreciate that one. But everything else was extremely simplistic and didn't really require much brain power thinking, which is fine. I don't really have anything against that. But my nostalgia had higher expectations for these puzzles. Now, when it came to Crossbone Isle, those puzzles were pretty good. I'd never been there, and I feel like those puzzles lived up to my expectations where the main game didn't. And that's kind of a weird thing to happen. And that's it for that. If the developer were to be watching, Camelot, Nintendo, if you were to be watching, the number one thing is I want another Golden Sun game. A lot of people don't like Dark Dawn, and I think they have a lot of valid criticisms about that. Now, I'm not really sure about the sales for Dark Dawn or the series as a whole, but this is one of my favorite franchises that exist, basically. It's a unique world, a unique take on the RPG genre, and I mean, in a sense, this game is basically Avatar: Last Airbender before Avatar: Last Airbender is a thing, in a sense. So just think about that. This game is pretty awesome. So I really hope we get a sequel. I really hope we get Isaac in a Super Smash Brothers game. I really hope that we get another opportunity for this game to exist and kind of reinvent itself. The 3DS might be a great platform. The Switch might be a great platform for another Golden Sun game. It could be 3D, it could be 2D. I honestly don't care what direction it goes in. I just want another game. And so I hope I get that. That's going to be it for me for today, though. I appreciate you watching. It's been a great journey, a long stream today. 3 hours, 45 minutes thus far. 100%ed all the Jin, which was super nice. Didn't get to do all the side quest content I had forgotten about, the stacked up people tree dudes. But I think I got almost everything else, which was, in my opinion, kind of impressive because I had forgotten about all that stuff to begin with. I don't have any immediate plans / interest to go into the next Golden Sun game, Golden Sun Lost Age. But I could change my mind. I said the same thing about when I played Trails of Cold Steel. I didn't want to go into Cold Steel 2 right away, but I basically did that. Tomorrow, most likely not at 6 o'clock PST. 6 o'clock PM PST. I'll probably start streaming 2 PM, 1 PM, significantly earlier because I want to play some Darwin Project. I want to do director mode. I for whatever reason, I just have a great interest in that. It seems like it would be a lot of fun based off of what I've seen other people do in it. I don't feel like I would contribute very much to the game, but I'd enjoy myself and I wouldn't screw people over. So, you know, there's that. I will say, though, that I will play Golden Sun 2 and Golden Sun 3 on stream eventually. It just might take a game or two. More than likely, though, I'm thinking about playing Sands of Destruction next. What other games do I have on my list? The Sands of Destruction, Super Mario RPG, The Last Remnant, and those are the games at the top of my list right now. I've also mentioned that I have interest in playing Pillars of Eternity 2. I mentioned that if the viewership wasn't too crazy, I'd play it yesterday. And to be honest, I forgot to check the viewership on it yesterday. But today it was actually extremely manageable. Something that I think I could actually just go into play, and I might get a couple viewers or something like that. It might actually be worth the time to play. So there's some interest in that. Biggest thing holding me back, though, is when I played Divinity Original Sin 2, editing those videos was a nightmare. It took me a month to edit those videos because I had to go through them. I mean, this was a personal thing for me. I went through them. I cut out all the shopping, basically inventory management, duplicate fights. I kept my first attempt and my last attempt basically on all the fights. And it was just a lot of work to go through that. So Pillars of Eternity 2 would be very similar to that. And to be honest, I've had some interest in playing Pillars of Eternity 1. I do own that. And I've considered just kind of doing a silent cast of it. No webcam, no mic, just playing the game and reading the text on my own time and going through that. And I guess just typing in chat when someone when someone, you know, pops up and talks or whatever. There's been some interest in that. I don't know. Long story short, I don't know what I'm going to play, but we'll figure it out as the days goes on. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow, pretty early in the day. But if you don't catch me then, I'll most likely be streaming at 6 o'clock p.m. PST with some game that I have in mind. But thanks for watching. Appreciate it. See you tomorrow. Peace.